The Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. How will the market react to them winning, and how will they react to McDavid losing? Plus, we'll delve into PSA's game-changing service enhancement and what it could mean for the hobby. This is episode 9 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Hello and welcome. This is the Hockey Card Haven podcast with Mike Distefano and my co-host Anthony Santini, here to dive deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. I had a busy weekend, just a good hobby weekend in general, Anthony. I don't know what you got up to this weekend in terms of hobby. I know there's the CSC show that was happening in Toronto. I went to that on Saturday, and then on Sunday I was back in Niagara. I sat up at a card show in St. Catharines, and I'm carded out. Actually, I was kind of carded out a little bit after a busy Saturday, Sunday, and then on Monday I went to the local shop and kind of took a peek through some boxes. I had to get some more supplies, and I see a value box, and I just start perusing into that bad boy. But I had a really good weekend, hobby filled, and a lot of good people that came up to me actually at both shows. Tell me that they're fans of the pod. They've been listening along. I said, that's awesome. Got to subscribe, got to like, got to comment. We don't get enough comments and likes. That's how the algorithm works. So if you are watching, please comment, like, let us know what you like, what you didn't like about the podcast. Helps us too, and helps the show grow. So that'd be greatly appreciated for all of those who do tune in. What'd you get up to this weekend? Any hobbyist things?
I mean, like, me, it was a nice weekend, so I had to go golfing. I feel like you kind of carried the load of doing all the hobby activities this weekend, and you had the right idea doing it too. Like, although CSC was the Saturday and the Sunday, you went to CSC, I think it was Saturday, and then Sunday was the MNL show. So you had the right plan. I definitely wish I was able to make it out to one. I tried to kind of move my schedule around to make it happen, but I ended up being in a golf tournament, didn't do as well as I wanted to. I think it would have been the right idea to go to the card show. But I mean, dude, I'm fired up to see your pickups because I know you were telling me, you gave me like a little bit of a sneak peek. You wouldn't show me the photos. So I know we'll get into that later, but I want to hear just about, how was the CSC show this weekend? Because it looked pretty good based on the photos.
So I ended up having to buy, like, literally I had to buy an extra 4-row to put my cards in this weekend. Like, I had to buy what I did a lot of good value boxing, and I've had some nice pickups to show on the show. I'll do it a little bit later. I only brought my top like few, I would say. A lot of them were kind of, cheap pickups, like $20 and under, I would say, like a lot of dollar bin buys and just some cheaper young guns and some autos and stuff and a lot of other sports. There wasn't a lot of hockey at the show, actually, surprisingly. I find Toronto a little less hockey than we get in Niagara, like the MNL show, Niagara at St. Catharines.
Yeah.
A lot of hockey there. So if you're a big hockey fan, that's a good show for it. But I find that whenever I go to these Toronto shows a lot, outside of the expo, obviously, find a lot of soccer, UFC. They're starting to get a little Americanized, it feels like. But that show was big TCG, so there's a lot of Pokemon and One Piece and stuff there as well. That was expected, but not as much hockey as I would have liked. But I did find a couple of good deals, and I feel like I snagged some of the better hockey cards that were on display there on Saturday. But it was a good show all around. I enjoyed myself.
I mean, even though you said there's not as much hockey, I went to the one, I think it was in February. Like, it was quite the while ago when they started to do the half TCG and half sports. I think it's called Worlds Collide CSC now. And it's hard to make a decision if it is better that they do it the Worlds Collide, because although there's not as much hockey, I found personally that at the last show, even though there wasn't a lot, when there was hockey, I was able to find a good deal because it felt like, most people are coming for the TCG, the basketball, the football, other sports. No one's really showing up for the hockey. Did you like find that there's almost better deals? Like, people were surprised when you walked up and said, like, yeah, like, I'm a big hockey fan, looking to pick up some young guns. Like, did you find that at all at the show?
Yeah, I mean, I found that there wasn't, as many people looking for hockey. It wasn't that there wasn't anybody, like, almost everybody, if you're when you're sitting there looking through, dollar bins and value boxes or staring into showcases and someone kinda comes saddles up next to you, you start with the small talk and you're like, "Oh, not a lot of hockey here, eh?" And you kinda overhear them saying everyone talking to the dealers like, "Oh, not as much hockey as I thought there'd be in a Toronto card show."
Yeah.
But hey, it's all good if you have a couple of good dealers who are able to make some nice deals that aren't sitting there and they're trying to charge out the ads for the cards. You get some solid hobby people, which I was able to find, and I made a lot of good deals. And came home with a lot of cards, not just hockey, but a lot of football, basketball. Also, just built up my own value bins. It was good. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'll show my pickups at the end of the show. But buddy, we're burying the lead here because we crowned a new Stanley Cup champion over the last couple of days. It's the Florida Panthers. So shout out, congratulations to the Florida Panthers on becoming the 2023-24 Stanley Cup champions, winning it in Game 7. They avoid the ultimate collapse of the reverse sweep that was in the fingertips of the Edmonton Oilers, and the Panthers say, "No, no, no, you're not getting 4 in a row on us." And they shut the door and they win that thing 2-1. Great game, terrific series. Like you
Oh,
talk,
yeah.
you know, trying to grow the sport, like let alone the hobby, but you grow the sport first, and then from there the hobby can grow. And I think you watch if you were watching Twitter and just being an overall like sports junkie and a sports journalist. I follow a lot of non-hockey people on Twitter as well, and all of those guys are out there tweeting about the game. Like not like everyone tuned in for Game 7. I think the broadcast was I had something like 5.5 or maybe like 6 million Americans
Oh my
tuned
gosh.
in for the show, and then they had a bunch more. Obviously, Canada. You had the entire country tuned in to watch to see if Edmonton and McDavid could get it done. But I think if we try and link it to the hobby, you know, I think that they did a great job of trying to grow the sport because people really tuned in and cared and they were impressed. And I hope that it continues and that they say to them that's not the last hockey game they want to watch. Hopefully now they say next year, okay, not only do I want to watch a game on TV, but maybe I want to go to a game. And then next time, maybe they're like, oh, maybe I want to get that guy's card. He's cool. He scored an awesome goal. I want to go and grab a Carter Verhaeghe young gun because of the great goal he had. The Sam Reinhart, snipe under the bar that he had, or Bobrovsky with the huge save he made, just getting a glove on that Hyman shot. So I think overall we were blessed as hockey fans to be able to watch it. But I think for the hobby, we did see. I think we'll see a little bit of a boost from the series in general. But I'm curious if you think, the fact that the Panthers won over the Oilers, will it make a difference in the long run, or do you think you're kind of indifferent, or the hobby will be indifferent about it?
I mean, I like how you said indifferent too. Like, I don't think, and I haven't seen so far. Like, I was sitting on eBay at work today for 5-10 minutes to see if there was any big movement on some of these players. Like, I haven't really
Mm,
seen Matthew Kachuk, Young Guns, PSA 10 really, skyrocket. Like, they're still sitting around that 150 to $200 mark. You would think that maybe they could start touching 250, maybe 300 after a Stanley Cup victory. But if you remember from those episodes, I think it was 2-3 episodes ago, we were talking about anticipation and how the market is, pushed by anticipation in the lead
hype,
up to the Stanley Cup
the hype.
final, the hype. But it felt like this Stanley Cup final was so different because of the massive shift that happened. Like 3 games in, we're already ready to crown the Panthers. And then out of nowhere, the Oilers are coming back for the reverse sweep. So it was like a massive shift. It really felt like the Oilers were gonna come back. I felt McDavid prices were finally starting to move up. I know you wanna get into a PSA 10 sale that happened this week, I think just yesterday before the
Yeah,
game, one of the highest in a while. So there was a big change in the market. I haven't seen too much from the Florida Panthers as of right now. The only difference I could see happening in the future is maybe, Kachuk's price solidifying itself, finding that average around that 175 for PSA 10. So I'll keep my eye out, and I know down the road, people are always going to be able to say, okay, Barkov, Ekblad, Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, Bobrovsky, all these players, their card prices will be a little bit higher because they were so, pivotal pieces to such a great Stanley Cup run.
Yeah, and we're taking a look now at that card you were talking about. This Connor McDavid that sold for basically $4,500 is what it sold for, and this was on January 24th. So that would have been yesterday, right? So this was or 2 days ago, rather, I guess, since this is now Wednesday
Yeah.
that this is coming out. But on Monday, so this one sold on the day of Game 7 for $4,500, and we were talking at the start of the series where it was hovering around like the $3,000 range, and we were
Yeah.
debating, is this this? I think this is a buy. Like, there's a chance that McDavid could see a little bit of a hobby bump, or as our friends at the Gong Show like to call it, a McHobby bump, and he got that for sure at throughout this series, in particular after Game 4 and 5. I mean, if you want to look at what happened with his card sales, it's quite staggering how high they ended up getting. You look at where it started at the beginning of the Stanley Cup final, and you saw it selling on the 8th, which was Game 1, for $3,493, and then it dipped all the way down to 28,060. And then this was the last PSA that just sold there for about $4,500. So you saw a 26% jump from the start of the final all the way up until Game 7, and we saw a roller coaster, throughout it as well. So just goes to show how much fun sports cards can be and hockey cards can be, and how it truly is like a stock market, and it goes
Yeah.
with performances, right? McDavid and the Oilers, they go down 3-0. That card's down to $2,800. Then all of a sudden, two big games out of him, back-to-back 4-point nights. Boom, we're back up to 3,600. And then right before Game 7, someone trying to get themselves a McDavid Young Gun before he maybe wins a cup, and it's now $4,500, and it's a lot of fun. This is why I enjoy the hobby, and I enjoy kind of the business of it, and like watching the statistics and analytics. And we were right at the end of the day, or I was right, that I thought that there still was a little bit of juice left in Connor McDavid, that if he went legend mode at some point throughout the cup final, that we would see a big spike in his market, and we did. I'm curious what this means going forward now that he didn't win. Will this still be a good market for Connor McDavid? Because of just the amazing playoff he had. He did win the Conn Smythe, right? So he did win that trophy, did win that one. But yeah, I am curious to see kind of if you think maybe his performance did enough to maybe raise the floor at the very least of his market going forward. Like, what do you think?
It has to raise the floor, right? Like, if you're even just the average hockey fan debating if McDavid is one of the greatest to ever step on the ice, I feel like this playoff not only kind of helps you answer that question, but it really puts a clear-cut indent that McDavid is easily one of the top 5 players that have ever played in the game. And I mean, I don't know, maybe you might want to debate it with me, go back and forth, but I couldn't imagine many hockey experts, hockey fans, hockey casuals, hockey players having much pushback on that. And even from a market standpoint for McDavid, you have to be pretty confident to be able to put some money into a card of that caliber. Like, when you're buying a card that costs $4,000, the average individual, that's very expensive. Even for
Yeah.
myself, that's extremely expensive. And you're not going to find me buying a Kent Johnson card that costs $4,000, even like a Kent Johnson 1 of 1 Young Gun. If there was, like, I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't feel confident. But when you look at Connor McDavid, you have that confidence. And I feel like that's why going forward, people are going to be more confident to be able to spend that much money on his cards. I don't know what you think.
Kent Johnson catching unnecessary strays here.
I'm
What you
not
got
gonna
against
lie.
Kent
I
Johnson?
I was thinking of a name, and there's literally just a Kent Johnson Young Guns just chilling in my literally in my little box. I actually bought this little, or I mean, I didn't buy it. My mom bought it for me. Shout out my mom because she wanted to help me organize. But it's just my little box of things to post on eBay. And Ken Johnson was right in the front, and he's a perfect example of a guy that I would not spend $4,000 on. I do like him, but not. I don't like him $4,000 worth.
Yeah, there's what, like, I don't know, probably like 400-ish players in the NHL, I would say, maybe. I don't know. That's a very
I
random
mean,
number.
it
There
it
might be like 4 guys who
yeah.
I would ever consider spending 4
Yeah.
grand on.
Hey,
Not a
could you
young
name
guns,
him?
obviously, but like, a really nice future watch auto or patch auto. Speaking of, there were a couple of really big McDavid sales though, since our last podcast, like in the last week. I did see that one ended up going. The biggest sale was June 21st. So a few days ago after game 6, when they forced a game 7, or maybe it was the day of the game 6, a BGS 9 2015-16 exquisite patch auto, the 0304 tribute version, number to 5, sold for $62,000. So
Jeez, man.
rookie RPA, exquisite patch to 5, 62 G's for Connor McDavid. And that was right in the middle of like that hobby bump that he had gotten,
Yeah.
between games 5 and after game 6. So that was a big sale. Saw Future Watch auto patch, the flop PSA 8 with a 9 auto sell for 15.5K. So that was a
Holy
pretty
crap.
big sale. And there's currently a card available right now up on Slab Sharks. Where I thought I had put it in the documents here, but there is a card on Slab Sharks right now, and it's up to like $61,500. It's the Cup Gold rookie, essentially.
Let's see if I can find something.
Cup Gold rookie to 10,
I
or
think
at
I,
a 12.
I
At a
think I
12.
did see it on the app. I'm pretty sure.
No, it is. There's still 2 days and 23 hours left, right? They're doing Thursday sales. So it's
Yep.
still going, and it's already up to 61.5K
Oh
with
my
a couple
god.
days left to go on that. So that could break the do you think that ends up going for more than what the exquisite patch went to? That
Oh,
one for
dude,
62. I mean, yeah, I guess 62. We're already up to 61.5. Yeah, it's not
I
gonna take much.
I just sent you the link to it right now. I don't know if you want to pull it up. Take a look. Dude, this card is absolutely gorgeous. Like the patch on card auto out of 12, already
Yep.
in a PSA holder. Like this thing is an absolute beauty. Auto 10 too. I'm a little bit skeptical though to know why the card wasn't graded to get a numerical value to it because it is graded authentic. So is there
Yeah.
some major damage that we don't see to it? And I feel like that is a conversation that we're gonna have when we talk about PSA because, if you're a buyer and you're gonna spend 60, 70, this could even be up to $80,000 after taxes and shipping. You're gonna ask yourself, what's wrong with this card that whoever graded it didn't put a numerical value to, the condition of it. So that's the only thing
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of. Besides that, oh dude, this is a beauty.
Yeah, so I'm showing it up here now, so you can see it, and yeah, it's just graded as authentic, so it's not a reprint. Although, like, who was it? Was it PSA? No, BGS just got in themselves a little bit of trouble the other day on. I don't know if you saw this. There was like a Michael
No.
Jordan PMG. I believe it was one of the grading companies.
Yeah.
They basically got duped on a PMG, and instead of like declining it, they just said that it was altered. So apparently, what had happened was it was just a regular like base card or something, and they just like colored it red, and
What?
then yeah, they just colored it red and then said it was one of those red PMGs, like the OG original Jordan PMGs that's worth like 20K. And it turns out that it was fake. Like not fake, but like they obviously altered the card, and eBay essentially took the hit because eBay guaranteed it because it was
Yeah.
slab. So the
I
slab, I guess, was kind of the error. They both screwed up a little bit.
I
Um,
just sent you the link to that. If you wanna pull it up, it
yeah,
looks
I'll share it here.
terrible. I don't know how this could have sslipped by anyone. And it
This
sold for
Yeah,
$23,000?
so here it is here. Yeah, so because it's marked as
Oh my
authentic, so you think like, "Oh, so it must be real," right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's authentic, it must be real. No. I mean, it is the card is an actual licensed card, but it's altered because it's fake. It's painted. It was colored. It's anyways. I don't believe that is the case with this McDavid one. The McDavid one,
No,
I
I think
think,
we're good.
is legit. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about with that card there. But yeah, so obviously McDavid saw a big hobby bump throughout this cup final. And I think we all expected it when
Yeah.
if that guy was going to perform, it was going to happen. I will be curious to track. Like I know you mentioned you didn't see a lot of big sales coming in for like guys like Barkov, Kachuk, Bobrovsky. I like to usually wait like 48 to 72 hours and see if we see some of the prices move at that point. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because there's such a quick turnaround from cup final to the draft. Like the cup was awarded on Monday and the draft is on Friday and the award ceremony is on Thursday. So
Thursday,
like
yeah.
there's no time for people in the hobby to even like really concern themselves about going out and making sure that they, get all of their cup champions to like go out and get a Kachuk Young Guns or a Barkov Young Guns if they want to. There's just not a lot of time. People are now already into off-season mode, which is interesting. I will say this though, like I still think that there's a chance that we could see the market grow for like a couple of days. I did see I'm in like a couple Discord groups, and I did see somebody say that now they want a championship, like they're gonna try and put together the full Young Gun set of the whole team.
Oh,
Um,
that's
and
kinda
and
cool.
yeah, like that's like a PC thing. I guess he's a Panthers fan, so he wants to get Barkov, a Forsling, a Kachuk, a Bobrovsky, and that's his plan. Like that, the whole team get their Young Guns, and that's what he wants as his collection. So I think there will be a bunch of people that are like that will look to go and get themselves the whole cup winning team and perhaps the players that they don't have. So I think there will be a little bit of a market for these guys, but certainly it won't be nearly as much as what McDavid and even some of the other Oilers would have had
Oh,
should they have won in Game 7. I think we would have saw a much more significant price increase on a lot of Oilers stuff than we will see on the Panthers. But I think if you're looking to sell, I think the next 48 hours is still enough, or maybe 24 hours at this point, still enough time, I think. But then it's the off season, and people are starting to move on to what's next, right? The hype is shifting to what's happening, and it's shifting to other stuff like the trade market, right? The trade market is already up and running. I mean, we've seen a few big trades since our last episode, Anthony. We saw Markstrom get traded to New Jersey. He's now a Devil. We saw Linus Ullmark get traded to the Ottawa Senators like
last
30
night.
minutes before puck drop of Game 7. Like they didn't care. The Sens, they didn't give a darn. They're like, we want to make this trade. We're gonna make it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Cup final, beware. No Game 7. Who gives a damn? We got to get our goaltending in place. So Allmark's now a Senator. Pierre-Luc Dubois is in Washington. I'm curious though. Like, do you think any of these deals have hobby implications?
I mean, for the Devils, I mean, we could start off with the Devils because I know you mentioned Markstrom first. I don't think, and like you mentioned, you made a real post on Instagram. It was a sweet one, and you talked about how Markstrom doesn't have a young gun, so it's going to be hard for his market to really see an increase. Obviously, we could see an
He's got other
increase.
stuff though. It's not just the young guns. Like he has like
Yeah.
other rookie cards. It's
So
not a young.
I was gonna say I think we'll still see an increase in like his market cap, if we can say that. So how many, you know, cards are sold, how many cards are traded, how many cards are listed of Jacob Markstrom, especially if the Devils can get hot around December and they find themselves in a good spot in their division. I feel like it's what the Devils need. I mean, for the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years, it's been like, okay, the Devils need a goalie. Okay.
They
Akira
still need a
Schmid's not the
goalie.
answer. Okay, Nico Dawes is not the answer. Even though shout out Nico Dawes, one of my PC players, I'm always collecting him. I'm disappointed that they made this trade, but he had his chance and they needed to make this trade almost because Dawes came in with, I believe, 55 to 65 games left, or sorry, at game 55 to 65 in the season. And dude, he wasn't much better than Schmid. Like he didn't really push the needle for the Devils. So this was a deal that had to get done, and it will have a positive impact, I think, on Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Dawson Mercer, Alexander
That's what I
Holt,
think. That's
Luke
what I think. I
Hughes.
I don't think it's necessarily Markstrom that's gonna see a big bump in his hobby.
Yeah.
I think it's the other guys, and it's not so much that, they're inherently going to be better, like, the team is gonna be better, and we
Yeah.
all know that winning is, the best avenue for
Oh, yeah.
success and whatnot, right? So, you bring in a goaltender, now it's like, "Okay, this team could win a championship." So you get a guy like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and all those guys now making deep playoff runs potentially. What do we see happen with guys and teams that make deep playoff runs? Their cards rise.
Oh,
And when
just
they
like
start
that.
off really well, it's all going to go extremely well. So I'm excited to see what's going to end up happening
Why'd
here. But
you
I
look
think we're
behind?
going
Do
to
you
see
think
a
I
nice,
was pointing behind
nice
you?
bump. What's that?
Do you think I was pointing behind you?
No, 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 no. My brother came downstairs for this, so I'm
No.
staying at my parents' place this weekend. My sister's
Oh, there we go.
having
Sweet.
having a child this week, so I decided
Oh,
to
nice.
stay back in Niagara, and I guess didn't get my memo that I was recording a podcast down here, so they tried to come down and hang. But
Hey, we're
yeah,
all good.
anyway.
Congrats, dude. Congrats. That's sweet. But no, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Like the Devils could see that, market increase for everyone around the team, especially if they start to play well. Mercer, Holtz, Hughes, Bratt, on defense, Hughes, Nemec when his young guns come out. Like there could be a big impact coming from Markstrom. Looking at Allmark too, I mean, similar situation, I'm gonna say from Ottawa because I feel like Allmark could be the difference in Ottawa. I don't know where you kind of view on the trade. We haven't talked about it. I feel like it's a good deal for both teams, man. Like, you know me, I'm a Bruins fan. I was pretty happy with it. Like to be able to move on from a goaltender that's descending in value, came off a Vezina trophy, obviously waived his trade his no trade clause at the deadline, and we were supposed to get PLD. That was the trade that was in place. We were going to get Pierre-Luc Dubois coming to the Bruins. That was the rumors, and I'm ecstatic that we got rid of Allmark at a good price. Obviously, I'm not happy to get rid of him. He's a good goalie, meshed well with Swayman, but I feel like they got great value for him.
Yeah, I think that they did. They got great value for him. I think the Senators overpaid a little bit, I would have to say. I mean, they did get Korpisalo off the books. They had to retain a
Yeah,
little bit of money on that, but for the most part, they got him off the books. I think 25% they
25.
retained.
Yeah, it was 25.
So they're still paying him a little bit for the next, I think, 4 years. They got to
Yeah,
pay
it's
him like a million, I
it's
think, for the next 4 years. But
It's 4 million through 2028, I believe, and
yeah,
Bruins will pay 3, and then obviously Ottawa pays 1.
yeah, I don't know. Like Allmark, before he got to Boston, he wasn't great for
No,
Buffalo.
no.
So, like, goaltending, it's almost it's like, your goaltender sometimes is only as good as the guys in front of you. So, unless the Sens start playing a little bit of defense, I'm not sure if Olmark will necessarily be the godsend that, like, I think Markstrom can be. I guess there's question marks there, I think, on Olmark, unless the Sens can get themselves playing a different way. So I'm not sure I see much value, like card market wise, in all this Allmark deal. I don't know how much more he moves the needle, I suppose, but perhaps, if they do go on a long run and he
It
gives them
could, yeah.
stable goaltending, perhaps, but I don't think it's in like the Markstrom range, in my opinion. But yeah, the PLD deal for uh, not Grubauer,
Darcy
yeah,
Kemper.
Kemper, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wash. Like that doesn't really, to me, that doesn't really have
I
much hobby value.
I was pretty much gonna piggyback on that and say, looking back a year from now, I could pretty confidently say that this trade will be dropped dead irrelevant. Like,
Yeah,
I used to like PLD when he came into the league. He was drafted, I think, 3rd overall to Columbus, I believe,
yep,
and then he's been
yep.
bouncing around a couple teams. I've given him the benefit of the doubt. He's a great player. He grew up a great player, but he hasn't meshed well with line mates. He played on, I believe, the most line combinations. I don't know if it was of the season or in NHL history, something like that, but they bounced him around like crazy on LA. And although people don't think it was a fair deal to get Darcy Kemper in exchange, I feel like just getting rid of PLD is an asset in itself. So I don't
Oh,
think he has any.
I've never met a single person who was like upset with that. Everybody thought
Yeah,
LA fleeced
yeah,
Washington there. Like
yeah.
Kemper for PLD is a massive let's
Yeah.
go.
Oh, buddy,
So
big thumbs. And like they need a goalie too. Like although they had who was their tandem last year? Talbot and Rittich, I
Talbot
believe.
and
Was it Rittich?
he
I think it was Rittich.
yeah, I think so.
And Talbot played pretty good up until, like, a month before the All-Star game, if I remember, and then he was kinda sitting in the All-Star game, and everyone was like, "Dude, this guy's played absolutely awful with, like, a .833 save percentage in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What is he doing here?" So I feel like it's a good trade, and, I'm almost proud of the Kings in a sense to say, "Okay, we invested a lot into PLD, obviously trading away all these big assets plus picks to the Winnipeg Jets to acquire him." And they said after a year, you know what, just get him out of here. Give us Kemper, give us a goalie we can maybe work with, and dude, just have fun in Washington. Go.
So I got a question for you. As we move forward toward the draft and free agency now, like we've kind of turned the page on the season, that it happens that quick, especially in the collecting and flipping investing world. Do you have a plan? Like, do you have a flipping or investing goal over the next week that will try and allow you to kind of maximize your profits? I suppose.
I mean, you know me, I've mentioned a couple times how many, Thomas Bordlow cards I own and for those of you that don't know him, he's a player for the San Jose Sharks, a prospect for the San Jose Sharks, if we want to call him maybe a green banana. He's not in his, developing stage, but he's right on his way to becoming ripe. I feel like if Macklin Celebrini can find himself on a line with Bordlow, it's going to help his market. So for my plan, me personally, I'm going to post some of the bigger cards I have, like not the base stuff. I'm going to keep like the Young Guns PSA 10s in the closet, but I'm gonna post like the Future Watch patch auto, the one of one, the Future Watch acetates, and I might post it for a little bit higher than market value, but just to see kind of people that are sitting on the couch looking up some of the line combinations
The
that could happen.
the Lucas Reichel situation is what
The
you're hoping
Lucas
happens.
Reichel effect, exactly. And for
Yeah.
those of you that don't remember, I believe it was what 2 summers ago or last summer.
Last summer, it was at the
Everyone was buying Reichel, dude. Just
so
because they would think he was going to be on the same line as Bedard. It was insane.
yeah, for those who I guess are somewhat new to the hobby or maybe weren't paying attention to the Reichel market, the minute that the Chicago Blackhawks officially won the lottery, Lucas Reichel's Young Gun shot up from like $5-10 to like $50 within the span of like an hour,
Yeah.
and they were going like pretty steady around that price for like a week, and then it dropped off, and then you could still pick them up like in the summer for 15-20 bucks, and
Yeah.
now you can find them in like the $2 to $5
$2.
bins now. Like
I
it
actually
does
think I
not work
sold
out
one
well for
on
anyone.
eBay. I think I sold one for $40, which is absolutely ridiculous. But
Yeah.
here are a couple of the board low cards that I got. I'll show a couple just quickly. Like I said, the acetate, one of one, clear cut, clear cut. I don't want it to fall. What's this? French,
Speckle.
speckled rainbow. I think this is the exclusives, Future Watch, retro patch.
So your plan is not to wait until, see if he pops off, but you want to take advantage of the hype of the maybe Bordlow and him get a shot to come up together. Therefore, you want to try and move these cards as early as possible, right around the draft when people have, the hype and the promise that's still there with Bordlow.
I mean, I think it is what drives the hobby and the market in general. Like we talked about
Mhm.
it 2 weeks ago. We had a great conversation about it. If you want to reference it, I believe it was episode 6 when we were talking a little bit prospects, etc.
Yeah.
But the hobby is driven by hype, and this is a perfect example of it. Like even though Bordlow might not be a 30 plus goal scorer or maybe an 100-point getter in the NHL, I would never expect that. I feel like if he does, catch a little bit of heat with Celebrini, people start hearing his name a little bit when they talk about, oh my gosh, the San Jose Sharks actually have a good lineup next year. They just picked up Ty Dellandrea, a couple changes happening. I feel like there could be some serious hype on eBay for Thomas
Yeah.
Bordlow. So that's my plan. I don't know about you. That's my plan.
So I guess I'll take it from two different perspectives, from a buyer and a seller perspective. From a buying perspective, I think I'm looking at free agency mainly, and I guess you can look at the trade market as well a little bit, and kind of try and predict what you think is going to happen in free agency, and try and pair some of the top players with some of the top teams. So, for example, right, like I don't know if this is going to happen, obviously,
Yeah.
but the speculation out there is that the Maple Leafs are going to make a run at Brandon Montour, right? The
Hmm.
Maple Leafs are a huge market, massive collecting market, big time fan base. So if that does happen, Brandon Montour becomes a Toronto Maple Leaf, then automatically people are going to want to try and pick up Brandon Montour cards, right? Whether it's his young guns or rookie autos or patches or,
Yeah.
future watch, whatever it may be, his market will definitely see an increase. And I know this is the fact because it happens every single year. Anyone who they sign automatically ends up kind of ticking up. I remember I bought or I had a Max Domi PSA 10 Young Gun last year. And I think like he was, I don't know, in the like $30 to $40 range, like
So cheap.
prior to signing in Toronto, like when he was in Dallas, when he was in Chicago, when he was in Carolina, just kind of
Arizona,
putting around. Yeah, like it wasn't.
Montreal.
Well, when he was in Montreal, there was a little bit of a value, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about like the year prior to him becoming a Maple Leaf. And then all of a sudden he signs in Toronto, and all of a sudden that card then sold for $100. Like
Yeah,
go from 30,
seriously.
40, signs with the Maple Leafs, it's $100 card now. Like that's the way it goes. And same thing with Tyler Bertuzzi. His market exploded. It's just it happens all the time with when it comes to Maple Leafs. So you can do the same thing, kind of speculate. Who's going to end up going to Montreal. Like I know that you're speculating a little bit on
Yeah.
Trevor Zegras, and you're
Yeah.
thinking like, all right, if Zegras, his market is down right now, but if he ends up getting dealt to Montreal, like being reported this offseason, all of a sudden you're going to see that market kind of go up. So that's where the fun of it comes in, a little bit of speculation, but that's kind of what my offseason plan is as a buyer. And then once those things come to fruition, then you kind of become a seller, right? Like if you're right, it should be able to pay off in spades, and vice versa. You could go ahead and take a look at guys you're willing to sell if you already have those players, and they may get dealt to, or they go to markets, strong markets, and all of a sudden a little bit of hype ends up driving their market up a little bit. Sell, don't sell, but don't be afraid. Don't wait until mid or late July, early August to sell that card. Sell that thing right away because it dries up quick. I will say that it's very fast, very fast. You got about a week to make your moves. After free agency, or else the market gets pretty stale throughout the summer. So if you haven't made many moves, I guess we'll say by July 7th, I suppose, like a week after free
Yeah.
agency, the market really slows down. So
Yeah.
when you do you do have plans of flipping, we'll say, make sure you're selling those cards as soon as possible. Definitely within a week of free agency, or else the buyer's market definitely just kind of gets swallowed up.
Yeah, I
People
mean,
are just not focused on the hobby as much in the summer.
yeah, like even with the NHL season ending, the NBA season being done, obviously the MLB season's still happening, but I just feel like, with the summer in general happening, like people are going to colleges, people are going to Europe, people are going
And it's the
away.
Olympics. Like people are going to be
Yeah,
focused on the Olympics. You get the Euro Cup. There's so much going on. Like no one's going to be focused on what's happening on July 16th. The random player that gets signed to a 1 year, $800,000 deal. Like it
yeah,
just no one cares. So
yeah.
the big boys who move on July 1st, July 2nd, try and get those things on the market as quick
Yeah.
as possible. That's kind of your best bet.
I
That's
mean,
always my strategy.
even too, like a good decent plan that you could look at if you're listening right now and you have some cards that you hear. What's a perfect way I could explain this? So, for example, at the NHL trade deadline just a couple months ago, I was sitting on a Matt Dumba exclusive Young Guns that, pretty hard to sell, wasn't able to even get $20 out of it. And then out of nowhere, he's in some trade talks. Out of nowhere, he wants to get moved. He could get moved. Could he go to the Leafs? I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you
Oh
talked
yeah,
about it a couple
oh yeah.
times. Dumba, toss it up on eBay, sold, boom. it was even before he got traded. I think it was 2 days before the NHL trade deadline, just because of the anticipation and
Mhm.
what's the word I'm looking for?
Hype.
And the hype, dude. So I'm ready for July 1st. I'm gonna post a couple cards, see what's going on. I wish I had a couple more all marks. All I have is 2 young guns, but I don't feel like, that's a perfect example of a card
Yeah,
that's just gonna shoot up once
not a
you
good
get
enough
traded.
market. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a good enough market.
Keep your eye on Marner
Uh,
though. Keep your eye on Marner.
well, that's for a different reason. If you feel like Marner's gonna get traded, I'd look to sell those cards, in the next day or
Uh,
2 prior to the
I don't
draft.
know. I don't
Where's
know.
he gonna there's nowhere he could possibly get traded to that's gonna increase his hobby value. No chance. He
Hey,
gets
I
traded, his young guns are already in half because of the speculation.
I just sold one for $200, I think, or
Not
$210, a
wrong.
PSA 10, which
PSA
is
10, those were going for 175 raw at the beginning of the year.
crazy, dude. And I don't know, maybe you might not agree. Maybe you have a little bit of Leafs bias considering the end of the season, but I just find that the hatred for Marner right now is absolutely criminal. Like this is terrible. Considering last year, there was like a point in the season, I think like 20 games in, even when he was almost at 100 points, not the season that just passed, the year before, everyone was saying, could Marner be more valuable than Matthews? I'll never forget it. He was almost at 100 points. Matthews was struggling. And to see now him in all these trade talks, his market dropping with cards, I just feel like a fresh start's going to be so good for him. He's going to put up 100 points plus more if he does get traded. And I feel like his youngins are something to keep an eye out for because I think I saw them for as low as like $70 raw, which, dude, it's just disrespectful, man. It's insane.
Well, if he ends up staying in Toronto, it's a steal because
Yeah.
then halfway through the season, he's gonna be putting up ridiculous numbers. He'll be on pace for
Yeah.
100 points, and he'll be doing Mitch Marner things that he does in the regular season. And
Yeah,
then
and
his card
then
mark will be right back up to where it was, and then all of a sudden, playoffs will come around, he'll be silent, they won't sign him, and now they'll go back down again. So, again, this hobby, it's a roller coaster. You gotta make sure you time the market well.
yeah,
I'm staying away from Mitch Marner. I will say that. In other hobby news, big development in
huge.
PSA, a game-changing development. The introduction of PSA grading notes. PSA grading notes. What does this mean exactly? Well, I will tell you because I actually have pulled up the uh the little blurb. I don't know what to call it. Like I'll just pull
Oh,
it up.
like
PSA
their post?
website.
Oh, okay,
No,
cool.
on the website itself. Greater notes for greater clarity. Get that? Greater notes for greater
Hmm,
clarity. That's
give them
kind of
a
funny.
raise. Give
Now,
them a raise.
before we even get into this, I guess you are a big fan of this move, Anthony.
Oh, yeah,
Explain.
love it. I
Actually, let me
mean,
explain what the news is first, I
yeah, yeah,
suppose.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
essentially, PSA. I'll bring it up right now.
Oh,
So
look at that.
PSA. So by popular demand, report cards have arrived at PSA, introducing. Well, let's put us up there. Introducing Greater Notes, a new feature that is detailing the card defects detected during grading and authentication, launching on June 25th. So basically, like what PSA or BGS has been doing for a long while, PSA is now offering a service in which they will be offering up a little clarity and the one thing that we've all asked for, transparency on their grades. So it's not necessarily that we're getting subgrades, but they'll tell us the issues and flaws that are on the card for why they were given that grade, which I think is pretty solid. But you tell me your excitement for this.
I mean, I just think that PSA over the past year, call it 2 years, has really solidified themselves as the premium certification authenticator, grader in the hobby for TCG sports, magazines, everything. Like they've really excelled to, create a customer service that is unmatched compared to Beckett, SGC, or almost anyone else in the field. They've blown past everyone. And to now do this, and I text you today to say, wow, this is the only thing that PSA didn't offer that Beckett did. So now you got to look back. Beckett's on their heels because they offered, transparency to say corners are a 9, edges are a 9.5, surface is a 10, whatever it might be. And when you had a PSA 10, I don't have one close to me, or actually even better. When you have a PSA 9 card like this Pedersen, yeah, I have a 9.
But
But
why
if I
is it
were
a
to,
9, right? Why
why
is
is
it
it
a
a
9?
9? Is it the edge? I don't know. Is it the corner? Is it the surface? I couldn't tell you, but now looking forward, I can have confidence, and transparency is a perfect word as to why I want to say, why do people want to grade with PSA? Because if I want to look it up and say, okay, why is this card a 9? I'm going to be able to find out. There's only one thing I'm worried about, and I know it's going to come, and I feel like you would guess it. I'm not going to make you guess it, but I know PSA is going to raise their prices again. And
No.
that's the
So
only
hold on.
thing I'm disappointed in. I know it's going to come unless you have
No.
valuable.
First of all, they just raised their prices. I will
Oh,
tell
boy.
you, because I know for a fact you didn't read the fine print. I know for a
Oh,
fact
I
you
did
didn't read
not.
the fine
I
print.
absolutely did not, with
So
confidence.
this is not available for bulk pricing, for value price. This only starts at
Oh, I did see this. Express, right? Express.
express level. So that's 129.99 a card, US for express level. So
Wow.
unless you're willing to pay basically over $150 a card to get express level, you're not going to end up getting this, right? So most people do bulk value grading. You're so like that Pedersen PSA 9, you're not going to get your grader notes
Yeah, it'd be
unless
involved.
you send it via express.
I mean, like you said, although it might be a little bit more expensive, if I were to go out spend $1,000 on a, I don't know, Crosby Young Guns, grade it, hoping it comes back a 10, and it comes back an 8, which for the listeners that know it's definitely happened to me. But I wanted to know, why did it come back an 8? I didn't have an answer. But if PSA did have this implemented at the time, I would be able to just log in, scan it, whatever it might be, search up the certification number and see, okay, there's a dimple here. Oh, shoot, I didn't even notice. Oh, the corner was a little bit frayed. Oh, there's a little bit of surface damage. So I feel like going forward, people can be more confident when they're buying, PSA slabs, or even putting in some of their more expensive cards in a slab.
Yeah, so this is basically what like an example of what the greater notes will be. So it'll be like corners, bend, top left, or say edges, or some fraying on the center right, surface, discoloration, or centering like back or top to bottom. Like it'll tell you exactly the in detail, like the reasons why you got the grade that you wanted. So all in all, this is a positive development and a game-changing development for higher end cards for
Yeah,
sure. And you talk about
100%. I
higher
agree.
end cards, but for most people, and this is why I wanted to bring this up and make sure that we talked about this. If you're doing bulk value grading, which most people do, right? Like most young guns are
Yeah.
done through bulk grading.
Yeah.
Uh, you're not going to get the greater notes unless you pay for it. If you're willing to pay 130 bucks,
Yeah,
if
you'll get it. Yeah.
the card is worth it, of course you're going to do that to so
Yeah.
that you can get and once a card value reaches what is it anyways? I'm pretty sure once you get to a certain level, what is it
Ye
at 129 at declared value of 2,500. So
Yeah.
a card that's worth $2,500 you have to do express anyways. So
Yeah.
anything that's worth more than 2,500 graded, so like a McDavid PSA 10, right? You're going to get express on that anyways. All right. So a PSA 10 Crosby, it's going to end up being express priced anyway because it's going to have a declared value over 2,500. So, some of the cards you are going to end up getting, you'll get bumped up at the very least to express grading and
Yeah.
you'll get your grader notes. But most of the lower level cards, you're not going to. That said, I do think that is definitely a development and a
Yeah.
great thing because we've asked for nothing but more transparency when it comes to grading and especially on like higher priced cards.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're now
They're
willing to
delivering.
offer. Yeah.
What would you say? And yeah, like you said, they are delivering everything we're asking for right now. I feel like that's why I'm confident in the development in PSA, even just to grade cards and hold them for the value. Like, I'd feel confident to say in a couple years that PSA will still be the king of grading.
I had a question. If they
Yeah.
offered you, like, how much money, I guess, like, play that game where it's like,
Uh-huh.
if they offered you, let's say, so what does a traditional grading fee cost you? Like, when you sent in that Pedersen, what did that cost you all together, would you say?
Like after everything, like all in, which
Like, bulk
duty
value grading is what, like, 35 bucks a card almost?
35 Canadian, kind
Yeah.
of like
So
something like that. Yeah, after duties
so let's say they said if you wanted to, you could add 20 bucks and get greater notes, even at bulk. So you do bulk, but then add 20 and get greater notes. Would you do it?
per card or
Per
just in
card,
general.
per card, per card.
I probably wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be worth it. I was gonna ask you too to kind of bounce
So
back. Do you
what's your
think?
number? So what's your number though?
Oh,
Like if it was bulk, like they have two prices, right? Bulk grading, no
yeah,
grader notes, because technically BGS does have it, right?
yeah, they
You
do.
can
Yeah,
get no subgrades or subgrades, so it's very similar, and there's a price difference on those. So
I
if PSA decided grading notes or no grading notes, like how much more would you pay per card to get those notes on
what would
bulk
you
value?
what would you what would you guess is my number?
Well, I think that it would have to be at least $10.
I don't even know if I'd pay more than $1. I feel like for lower end
Really?
I just feel like for lower end cards, like, it wouldn't matter, like,
But we're not talking low. I mean, like, we're talking, I mean, what, like, Jack Hughes Young Guns, right? Like, going for about $300 right now. Sold one this
yeah,
past weekend, by the way.
yeah,
Going for,
yeah,
like, 300 bucks, right? But a PSA 9 is only going for what? Like, 160?
150,
What
160, yeah.
right? Like, wouldn't you wanna know why it only got a 9 when you thought it would 10? Because if it comes back and it's like scuff on surface and you get the
Uh,
grader notes and it comes back and you're like, "Okay, now that I know, I just take the scuff out,
Send it
re-crack
back.
it, and send it
Yeah,
back and hope for a 10." Like, that's really what you're hoping for with the grader notes is, if you are a flipper or an investor, you're hoping that the grading notes will help you and you could find out, okay, what was the issue? Is it fixable? And if it is, all right, give it a little polish or try and flatten that corner, do something, not, the Kurt's card care nonsense. That got a little bit, too hairy. But if it's fixable, easily fixable, wouldn't you want to know for an extra 10 bucks? Think about how much more money you can make by resubbing, cracking resubbing, and going from a 9 to a 10 possibly. Worst
I
case scenario, you look at it like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a 9, and it costs
yeah,
you 10 bucks. But if it works, now you've made what, 150?
yeah, off just resubbing it, right? I mean, I don't know, me personally, I trust my eye most of the time whenever I'm looking at cards. However, I believe if a card were to be, like, over $500-600 and it were to come back a 9, I'd wanna know. And if you're telling me, like, okay, if I'm grading, like, a $500 card, and it's only gonna cost me $10 to get an exact answer as to why this card came back an 8, a 9, whatever it might be, I wanna know. Because if, I crack the card out of a BGS 9.5, I send it to PSA, it comes back an 8, I'm gonna be livid as is. I might as well pay the extra $10 because I want answers now.
So
Because
you've
if I
changed your
just
mind.
see that, yeah, exactly.
That's why I've changed your mind.
Yeah. But if it were like a card under $100, I know Jack Hughes is a good example because his cards are so popular, so
But that's what
liquid
I'm
and so
talking about. I
practical.
mean, PSA 9s and 10s that are under 100, like it's almost not even worth grading. Like I'm talking about the cards that are worth between 3 and 500,
Yeah.
not the ones that are like I would never like a Kent Johnson. I wouldn't pay the extra 10 bucks on a Kent
No.
Johnson because
Yeah, that's where I'm yeah.
it's not enough. Like I'm talking about the ones that are worth a few hundred at least.
Shout out Ken Johnson for catching
Just
so many
sprays.
sprays today, literally for no reason at all. Like, I guess he got injured the last 20 games, and we just think he's like an auto bust or something. But
Terrible player.
anyway, if
Terrible
you
player.
want this, it will be on eBay. So if anyone's watching, it's gonna be on eBay. And you think
Alright.
you want to buy low, he'll be there. Maybe we're throwing strays for a reason. We just want his prices to drop so we can pick him up. Um.
Maybe.
Anyway,
Speaking of young guns, Extended finally releasing
oh my
today. Finally, it has come out today, and I do have I do have a case on hold for me
oh yeah.
at my local card shop. I do have it on hold. Apparently, they've been sold out of hobby boxes since like like when you go and pick up your box for series 2 or series 1, they always ask, do you want to be on the list for the next one? And I will
Yeah.
say yes. So because I had a case of series 2, they're like, you want a case of extended? Yeah, I guess so. Put me on the list.
So
And so yesterday somebody was in, and when I was in there, just kind of looking through the value bins, someone was like, "Oh, can I get on the list for an extended series?" Like, we've been sold out of hobby boxes since the day series 2 came out. I was like, "Oh
holy
wow,
crap.
good thing I've got a case."
Yeah. So even though you mentioned that you put your name down, let's say you put your name down in when was it? I guess March?
March 6th, I think it came out March
Something like
6th,
that.
I
So let's say
believe.
you put your name down and then now it's June 25th and you give
Yeah.
them a call this morning when they call you to say, "Hey, come by, pick up and bring obviously the cash to pay for your order." If you were to say to them like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling it anymore." Is that okay or is it frowned upon or is there some type of rule
Honestly,
or it doesn't I
con
think that
con considering that they have no hobby boxes to sell people on opening day, I bet you they'd be happy
yeah,
to
probably actually.
I honestly think they would be more than happy to, like, buy the case back from me essentially,
Yeah,
right? Like, there's no down payment or anything like that, so I could literally just be like, "Nah, I'm actually just not gonna get it. I don't think it's a good enough product. I
yeah,
don't believe in it," and they'll sell 12 boxes like that. Like, that's not hard for them.
yeah,
But, like, it'd be difficult for me to try and sell and move 12 boxes. So, I could potentially walk in there and say, actually, I'm just going to take 3 boxes and you could sell the other 8 and make your profit or whatever. I'm sure they would be okay with that. I don't know for fact. I don't don't think
it would make
actually, you know
sense.
what? I did do that. I did do that for
Bedard's here, right? You did that for series
I think
1
I did it for series
or first
1.
2
Yeah.
or 1 or 2, whatever Bedard was
I
in.
definitely got a full case for series 2, but I think series 1, I originally did order a case, and then I got there, I was
Yeah.
like, can I just get 3 boxes actually? So I
Yeah,
don't
I
yeah,
don't feel like dropping $1,000. I'd will
1,000?
probably pass. Was it not 1,000 for a case? A series 1?
It's like 2,000, yeah.
Oh, oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She's
Oh my
expensive.
god.
I mean, think about it, it's like 140, $150 a box.
What was the ballpark for extended? Because I remember we were talking box prices. I don't remember talking case prices. Did we?
Yeah, funny enough, I meant to ask yesterday while I was in there, and I don't know the price of the case, but I know that the boxes are typically going somewhere around from 200 to like 230 I've seen.
Oh shit.
So somewhere around there for extended. Uh, so that's kind of what you're looking at if you're looking to buy yourself some extended. I was taking a deeper, closer look at the young guns that are going to be available and extended. I was trying to see if I could find some like pre-sale pricing because I mean, full transparency, we are recording this Tuesday night, so before it officially comes out. But I was taking a look. I'm curious what you think the number is right now for Fantilli. If I were to try and buy a pre-sale on eBay, what do you think
Ooh,
Fantilli's going for?
$100, I guess.
Spot on.
Yeah,
100
100
bucks.
bucks.
100
All right.
bucks for Fantilli. What about Logan Cooley?
70, $70, $80.
74.99. So
Okay.
75 bucks.
Okay.
So you're pretty close. So those are the top 2 chases and they're going for a decent chunk of change right at the gate. So that's that's good. However, I do expect for those prices to kind of fall as this product starts to rip open. So
Yeah.
again, be first, try and be first in line at your card store, get your boxes. If you plan on trying to rip to sell, I would try and do it as quick as possible, whether it's posting in the in your Facebook groups or posting on eBay or on Instagram. The quicker you sell them, the better better you'll do. I can guarantee you that. Some secondary chases that I like, Anthony talked about them last week on the show, but Matthew Savoy, Simo Nemec, Yuri Kulich, those 3 players I think are good secondary chases in this product. And then, some other guys who I think are worthwhile picking up and might have some hobby relevancy and value next season. Martin Pospisil, the Calgary Flames, Isaac Rosen of the Buffalo Sabres, Ivan Miroshnichenko of the Washington Capitals, and then Dennis Hildeby, goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, he might not play for the Maple Leafs next year, but as we talked about earlier, people just loved collecting Maple Leafs. So a guy who, if Dennis Hildeby played for the Carolina Hurricanes, the Seattle Kraken, or any other team that's not named the Toronto Maple Leafs, no one probably cares about his Young Guns card
Yeah.
because he's never played a game in the NHL. But because he's a Maple Leaf, they do. And he's highly collectible. So Dennis Hildeby's kind of another tertiary chase, I think, in this set. Outside of those guys, and it's a 30 card Young Gun set, just a reminder, 30 cards and extended. The rest of the guys, I think, are pretty common. That shouldn't cost a whole lot if you're looking to build out this set. Couple bucks a piece. Give it a week or two, and they'll be in your $1, $2 bins at the card shows or at your local card store, guaranteed. Speaking also of Young Guns, you sent me some news about the Philadelphia Flyers expecting to bring Matvei Michkov over from Russia. I assume that he'll end up being like a big chase for Series 2. Like, this is a big time player, big time prospect coming over
Oh,
from
yeah.
Russia.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're able to get him out of his contract early and get him back into North America is big. And so he should be able to play right away. I think that he'll have some big time hobby relevancy. Philly, great hockey market. Michkov,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
really, really solid player. I think that he's somebody who you can look forward to, along with Macklin Celebrini. I think there's a chance that Matvei Michkov will be the kind of secondary chase of Series 2.
I mean, for sure. I was saying, and I had to text you right away once I found out about it last year during, I guess it was around this time, close to the draft. I'll never forget. I was putting on the putting green, just absolutely locked in, sitting on my phone, talking to my brother, reading about Michkov, and there was news that he was in the Philadelphia Flyers facility. They weren't sure what was happening because it almost seemed like no one wanted to draft him. And this guy, man, is highly touted. Like, he is one of the best prospects to come out of the past 5 years. And, I'm going to hold him to a high standard too, because although Connor Bedard was the first pick, Michkov was, I believe, the fifth. He was expected to be.
Seventh,
Was he the seventh? Like, he
seventh or
dropped.
eighth.
He seriously dropped
So he
because of the
did.
situation.
He was widely considered as like the second best prospect, third best maybe prospect. Like, he was one of the top prospects in this draft.
Okay.
However, he dropped because of the Russian factor, and the thought process was he's signed to his Russian team for the next like 3 years. You might not get him for 3
Yeah.
years. So that's the thought process when it comes to some of these KHLers. So that scares teams off, right? When you don't have
Yeah.
the ability to, not only play him on your team, but also you have no say in development either, which is sometimes the bigger issue. And for young kids, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, especially if they know that they're leaving to go to the NHL, they don't develop them properly and they don't give them the proper guidance that a young player needs that he would get if he was in the NCAA or in the OHL, the CHL, or in the American League if he's European coming over and playing in the AHL. So there's always a little bit of timidness when it comes to selecting players out of the KHL so high. Keep in mind, Kirill Kaprizov didn't get to the NHL until he was 24 years old,
Years, man,
right? Like,
years.
because he had a long contract with his team. I mean, Ilya Sorokin. You look at the goaltending market. This happens all the time. You didn't see Shesterkin come over to the NHL until he was 25 years old because he had long
Yeah.
contracts with his team out in Europe. So that's always the worry and a big reason why Russians tend to drop a little bit here. But the Flyers able to get Matvei Michkov out of his contract early. It's big for them, big for them now having a say in his development. And I think he'll be a big chase for the hobby next year if he does end up being part of Series 2. Last little bit of piece of hockey news. Not sure if you saw the Hockey Hall of Fame announcement, but we've got Jeremy Roenick, Shea Weber, and Pavel Datsyuk headlining the Hall of Fame class. You think we see a little bit of a hobby bump in these guys' markets? I mean, they've been kind of out of it for a little bit, right? Like, there's been no hobby relevancy for quite some time for these players. But now you look and it's like, hey,
Hall of
possibly
Famers.
Hall of
Hall of
Famers.
Famers, yeah, and I believe Datsuk has a cup too. Like, there's no reason why his prices aren't You know,
2 cups.
was it 2? They beat Pittsburgh and they beat
Carolina in his rookie year.
oh, was that like '06 or
Oh 02.
07 maybe?
Before you were
Oh
born. Oh 02.
oh, buddy, I wasn't even a thought just yet. But yeah, what's it called? I've
God,
always
you're so
found
young.
yeah, I've always found, Datsyuk to be cheap. Like, when I was growing up, oh, dude, this guy was just ridiculous. I'll never forget watching, like, the 2-minute hype videos before my game and just pretending to be Datsyuk with the little moves. Obviously, I get on the ice, and I'm not even anywhere close to Datsyuk, like, not even in his stratosphere. But I've always found him cheap. I'm hoping that his prices could start to find that bump. We know that he has, I believe, 2 young guns. I don't know if it's from the same year, different photos. One is more rare than the other. I don't know if he has any future watch autos, but looking in, the next year and especially on the date that he is announced to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, the official day where they do the announcement, I'm expecting a little bit of hobby movement for a positive, uprising in his market.
I'm looking at Card Ladder right now just to see how many sales we've seen and how many cards kind of sold today, the day of the announcement. Quite a lot. So, like, I
Oh, yeah.
mean, this very clearly proves that again, hype. We're talking about a guy who just got elected into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Someone who's been out of the limelight for quite some time, and all of a sudden, people are like, "Oh yeah, like I'm gonna pick up some Datsu cards." I forgot about how great of a player he was. You start talking and thinking about it, and you're like, he was awesome. I want to go pick up some Datsuk. And yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm looking, there are like dozens of Datsuk sales today
Yeah.
specifically. Um, Top couple cards, like you got some patch autos. He's got a Topps Chrome rookie from back in the day from 2001. But
Hmm.
he's one of those, he's got a Young Guns, but that Young Guns is one of those like really tough ones, the
Yeah.
short printed set. So they're expensive. The Young Guns itself is kind of an expensive one. But I think there is a bit of a bump. If you are sitting on any of these Hall of Fame cards, these Hall of Famer rookies, might be a good time to move him like now. And then again, if you don't move him now, you can maybe wait until the actual weekend of the Hall of Fame. That's kind of another time where people start to buy these up, and that's sometimes the last time that you get to move
Yeah.
on some of these players. Uh, yeah. So
I mean,
just
perfect example, like you said, it might be the last time. I remember last year when Henrik Lundqvist was inducted to the Hall of Fame, there was like a month, maybe not even, where his, hobby price really took a bump. We saw his future watch, his young guns, everything take a big dive, a big rise, and then
mm,
out of nowhere, a massive dive. Like everything's come back to earth now, and it's kind of that 1 month, 2 month period, or in between
the hype.
the announcement and when it actually does come out. It's the hype, man, and the hype was big at the time, but now there's little to no reason whatsoever to go buy out, a Henrik Lundqvist card or even go invest in him right now, at least.
Unless you're a fan of the player, in which case they usually already have those cards, right?
Actually, kind of off topic, but not really talking about Lundqvist. Did you watch? I don't know if you have a Netflix or watch Netflix regularly, but did you watch that documentary on Henrik
I have
Lundqvist?
not actually. I didn't watch it yet.
You
It is
should
on
watch
like
it.
my
It's good.
summer. Yeah, it's on my summer to watch list for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean that was a very abrupt ending to his career. He like
Yeah.
signed in Washington. We all thought we were gonna watch him in a Capitals uniform, and I was gonna puke all over myself. And then it didn't happen because he ended up with that
Yeah.
heart condition and never ended up
Yeah.
actually playing for them. But yeah, so moral of the story, I guess, sell your Hall of Fame cards now or wait until November, and then that's kind of your last time. All right, really quickly, let's get to some show and tell, some pickups throughout the week because I've got some that I'd like to show off. What do you got for us this week, Anth?
I don't have too much. I mean, I missed out on going to the shows last week. I know you, like I said, took a big load of going to the card shows. Pretty much all I have for a pickup is a big fat 90 on my, Sunday golf tournament. So I wasn't too happy about that. That's what I shot. I shot a 90. If you did better than me last weekend, comment below because I feel like I could get a couple people in the comments that played a little bit better. But that was my pickup of the weekend. Nothing too new. I actually if you want to kind of call this a pickup, I'm gonna give it to my buddy. But this LeBron James card, shout out my boy Zach at work. I'm gonna
Hey.
leave this on his desk tomorrow. He's actually in Calgary, so when he's back, he'll have this waiting on his desk. He's not too much of a card guy, but he's a massive LeBron guy. And I was like, you know what? I gotta find a card not too expensive, but something that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, nice
Just
little
for him,
dunk. Yeah,
just for
it's
him
good
to collect. Put in a one touch and put a little
little
what's it called?
stand.
One of these card stands for him to keep on his desk. So that's gonna be his pickup of the week. But I'm hoping that I could get out to the Michelangelo show in Hamilton on Monday, and I know you're gonna chat about that too because, dude, I'm itching to pick up some new cards. Itching.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really the big show of the weekend. On July 1st, they do it on every holiday. The Michelangelo show in Hamilton. It's always a good show. You're not setting up this time. You're going as a patron.
I haven't texted yet to see if there's a table available. I do this all the time. Like I always
Last
message like
minute.
a couple days before. So I'll probably send her a message in 2 days to see how my weekend is, what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna try to go. I was talking to my brother, and he might even want to come too because he has a couple cards. Actually, I was cleaning out this guy's desk. I've been cleaning out the basement. Don't I go find 4 Sam Reinhart Young Guns in like a dollar bin in his thing? And I
Good
was like,
timing.
dude, this is like 20. They're like $20 a piece at minimum. At minimum. And he was like, "Oh, you got to help me sell it." So I was like, "Okay, maybe we'll go to the card show together on Monday."
That'll be a good time. That'll be a good time for that. Yeah, I'll be there Monday as well. That'll be my morning, and then in the afternoon we'll celebrate the country and its
Dude.
birthday. Speaking of the country, my first pickup that I'm going to show you actually is a Team Canada women's card. So I'm following in your footsteps,
Sweet.
Anthony. Picked up an Anne Renee Desbiens patch
Oh,
auto
nice.
card.
I like that
Really
patch.
nice patch. Look at that patch.
That's
Beautiful
sweet.
patch. So Anne Renee Desbiens, obviously the starting goaltender for Team Canada, number to 199. So I thought this was a really sick card. It is game used. And you always love seeing game used because that doesn't happen a whole lot
Yeah.
anymore. Half the time it's not. This card is not a company or associated with any game or event. It's like, oh, so you just bought this from Walmart, cut it up, and put in a card. Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Really annoying. Picked up a black diamond rookie gems auto to 99 of Bobby McMahon.
Oh,
Nice
that's
little
sweet.
Bobby
Bobby
McMahon.
McMathew.
Yeah, Bobby McMahon, Bobby McMathew, nice little rookie auto to 99. This was a cool pickup too. Tim Stützle rookie patch artifacts
I like
numbered to
that patch. Look
99.
at that.
Really nice, sick
Four
patch.
color patch. Holy crap.
Yeah, yeah, you got a little bit of gold up top too, so that's really sick. So that's numbered
Love it.
to 99, and I kept it rolling with my Ottawa Senators pickups. Apparently, this was a nice one. Jake Sanderson Future Watch auto that I was able to pick up. Big
Those are
Sanderson
cheap.
guy, two
80
big.
bucks feels cheap.
Hey, go ahead. You can buy it. You want it for 80 bucks? It's yours, buddy. Anyone wants it for 80
Hey,
bucks.
maybe.
It is
Maybe on
all
Monday
yours.
we'll see.
We'll see. Maybe we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a deal. Another future watch. Rupe
Oh,
Hintz.
Rupe.
Rupe Hintz future watch auto. Picked that up as well over the weekend. That was a nice deal. That was from our boy. Oh God, Urban Cards.
Oh, yeah. Sweet.
Oh yeah, nice little card. Another future watch auto. Robbie Thomas. I had one in my collection actually, and then I sold it at the Expo, and then I saw another one at a good price, so I bought it back. So I have
Stupid.
another
Yeah.
one, Robbie Thomas. This is a sweet pickup. Actually, we'll go one more Future Watch auto. Travis Konechny, Future Watch
Oh,
auto.
that's good.
Nice little Future Watch, 9.5 with a 10 auto grade. Beckett 9.5, 10 auto grade.
Nice.
Yeah, so this one was pre-graded already, so I don't even need to do anything. But Travis Konechny, another one of
Hey,
those
you
guys
can
where it's like he could end up somewhere. Yeah, I could crack it. He could end up somewhere this summer too. Like he's always kind of in the trade market in a way. So that's a guy potentially who could end up getting dealt somewhere. This was a really cool pickup that I thought was just a stupid deal. I kind of told you about it before. Shane
Oh, yeah.
Pinto.
That's sweet.
Look at that patch. Oh, I don't know if you can see it properly, but there's like
That's
six
sweet.
color breaks,
Yeah.
in this patch for Shane Pinto, the true rookie of the Cup, number to 249. These true rookies, I mean, they're amazing, absolutely amazing cards.
Let's
I
do.
I mean, cup RPAs are always kind of like the number one chase for any rookie. So
Let's
getting one
do
of
a
those
swap.
bad boys is nice. Is it
Let's do a nice
exclusive?
little swap. What would you rather have, the exclusive or what price tag did you have on that?
Cup
The
RPA? What do I have on it? 140? Yeah.
yeah, pretty similar price. I guess I feel like the cup's got to be more
I'll
rarer,
take well, I
right?
mean, there's 249 of these and there's 100 of those. So
I don't know though, man. Like I know they are more. Not what's the word I'm looking for?
what do you mean?
These are short printed compared to the cup ones, but if you can find like what maybe only 50 are made with nice patches, like especially the one that you have, could that be
Oh yeah.
better than the exclusive Young Guns? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I
I
would
believe they're relative in price.
I would 1000% rather this than the exclusive Young Guns.
Yeah, just because of the
1000.
patch too, like for sure.
I'll always take a patch auto rookie out of a Young Guns. I'll take that all day long. That's just my personal collector in me that's coming out there. But those are some of the bigger pickups that I made. I also made I bought a honestly, like I said, I had to buy a 4-row friggin' box from
Had to.
from
We had
M&L to store my cards. Just a bunch of hockey, football, baseball, basketball. It was wild. There was a guy from the States at the CSC show who, you know, when you get people from the States, they load their dollar boxes with some really good deals, and you could find some steals. I did have one steal similar to that swagger card from the last expo. I did
yeah.
find I'm not gonna say which one, but I did find a dollar card, and I was looking it up. Turns out it's worth about $100 that I found in the
Love
dollar
it.
bin. So really, really nice pickup there. It was a basketball card, not a hockey
Oh,
card.
that Curry, I think, right?
Yeah. The
Sweet.
Steph Curry that I showed you. But yeah, so really good weekend for me, and I'm sure this upcoming weekend at Michelangelo's will be a lot of fun too. Really quickly, another reminder that I am hosting a trade night on July 23rd next month. It's a Tuesday at DeQ Brewery in St. Catharines. It's TCG and sports cards. It's all ages. It's no entry fee. You can come in, giving away a door prize as well for everyone who comes out. So should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. Should be a good time. So make sure you come follow us on Instagram. We'll be posting about it at was it hockey card? No, what was it?
Hockey
Hockey
card
card
Haven.
Haven pod.
Yep.
Is pod at the end of that or just hockey card Haven? I can't remember now on IG.
I think it's Hockey Card Haven.
Let me. I think you are no. There's pod hockey card Haven pod. You created it, brother.
I know, I wasn't sure because I think the YouTube is Hockey Card Haven, or no, we had 2 before, remember? There's
Yeah.
Hockey Card Haven and then Hockey Card Haven Pod.
Anyways, the Instagram is Hockey Card Haven Pod. So follow that. Follow myself also. AB Cards. Follow Anthony Sports Cards GTA. And all that good stuff. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. Thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to us. We got new episodes coming out each and every Wednesday. Subscribe right here on YouTube. We'll be back next Wednesday. Little post free agency episode. There'll be a lot
Oh.
to talk about in that one. So we're back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.